So a couple of years ago on our TikTok account, we had one of our videos go viral from training with a guy called Matthew Mason. So if you're not following Jim's group TikTok, please do it. But the video had around 1 million views, and it was at the end of our training when Jim handed a certificate, and he said a couple of really powerful things. So we thought we'd go and catch up with Matthew 2 years later to see how his gym's journey has been.
My name's Matthew Mason, and I'm originally from Sydney. I was born and bred in country New South Wales. I had literally hit the ground running. So I finished my training, I had the van all set up and ready to go. I had already set up a Facebook page, and I put a post on the Hills and Fern Tree Gully page, and just was like, hello, here I am. I've just left flying after 30 years and now I'm doing this. And I was inundated with requests, so I had 2 weeks work in 24 hours. I think what impressed me the most was how often Jim dropped by. I actually was sitting down at lunch with my head in my phone, and I looked up and he was sitting there having his lunch. Like, I didn't even notice that he'd come and sit down. So poor old Jim's heard my life story. But that was like amazing to me. Well, I'm a control freak. I can say I'm a control freak with issues. So I always said if I was going to leave flying, my next job would be me and an inanimate object. So this is absolutely perfect. I really get a lot of satisfaction from the transformation with the cars that I do, and a lot of them are pretty far gone. They've only ever been positive. And for me, I can only go on their reaction. And as I said, being a perfectionist in my head, I always step back and think, oh, could have been better. So for me, it's all about communication. As long as people know what's going on and what you're going to do, and you follow up with it, and you're on time, I think that's what makes the difference. Without doubt, it's attention to detail. It's getting the detail brush out and dusting the dirty air vents and getting in, I call it the abyss. The crevice between the front seats and the centre console, or if your back seats flip up. A lot of the time I vacuumed the whole thing, and then I realise, oh, these seats come up and there's hell underneath it, which it's like, okay, I've got to keep going. I think that's the difference. It's getting into all those nooks and crannies. If you're just starting out, I think that's, pay attention at your training, ask as many questions as you can, make sure you're comfortable with, the skills that you've got, and if you don't feel comfortable, then do it again and, tell them you need more training. I've always been into my cars, quirky cars more than anything. So my first car was a Volkswagen, 1970 Volkswagen Fastback. It was purple and silver, it had purple carpet. I was still at university then, but I absolutely loved it. And if you want to go back before that, I can remember my mother asking me to wash our little yellow Mini. I said, okay, and I just got absolutely lost in it and spent hours on it, and she was absolutely thrilled, and she gave me $5. What's your work ethic like? Do you have an eye for detail? Can you see yourself doing this daily? Heading out there and it's a very physical job. So I think that's the most important thing that you've got to consider.